who has kind of an exotic job, who's got an awful lot of drama in the like. That's what you talk about. And in the NBA, we've been talking about breakups and coaching. More on coaching coming up in a bit later on in the big show. But we talk about injuries, intrigue, and then we just kind of sit there and go, yeah, but the Boston Celtics still look really, really good. Now, Porzingis, I think he's going to be out at least for the first 2 or 3 games of the series, depending on whether or not Cleveland or Orlando go to a game 7. But Porzingis looks like he's going to be out for a while.
They may not need him. Like, he's a good player, but they could still win without him.
Well, against Orlando or Cleveland, I think absolutely. You're going to need him if you face, well, man, if the Bucks get eliminated tonight.
The Knicks 76ers, I
Does
guess
this,
the winner
I
of
mean,
that
it
could be.
does kind of have a 2019. I know, obviously, as Blazer fans, we remember 2019 very, very differently. But if you think about 2019 from a Golden State Warriors perspective, remember in 2019 is when Kevin Durant went down with a Achilles strain, and the Warriors were like, yeah, nobody in the West can stop us even without Durant. He ain't playing. He's just not going to play. And Blazers waved off Oklahoma City, 7 games with the Denver Nuggets, and all of a sudden the Warriors are looking around going like, Dame's good and all, but they got a backup center. I think we're okay. And Durant didn't even play until the NBA Finals, and then sadly popped the Achilles in the NBA Finals. But, yeah, I think that's kind of the same way for Boston right now. Like, look, if the Bucks don't have Giannis and Dame, and if the Knicks take out Philadelphia, there's no star power left in the Eastern Conference. That doesn't mean that there's not good players. It just means there's no star power. If you look at the Eastern Conference right now, the biggest stars in the Eastern Conference, Giannis, Dame, Embiid. Outside of the Boston Celtics, I guess I should say. Those 3 guys. Jimmy Butler would have been in the mix. Jimmy Butler got injured, and then Jimmy Butler's team was eliminated yesterday. So now if you're the Boston Celtics, you were like, all right, we get the New York Knicks without Julius Randle. Jalen Brunson, I think, is going to be a superstar. And trust me, if the Knicks end up going to the NBA Finals, get ready for like a summer of Jalen Brunson because he will be anointed. He will be the guy everybody will be talking about. New York, like Derek Jeter proved the model. New York fame is different than any other fame. It is what it is. Patrick Ewing would have had Patrick Ewing's career anywhere other than New York City. He's an afterthought in the NBA. And that's not a knock on Patrick Ewing. That's just do you think if Patrick Ewing had his career in, I don't know, Milwaukee, perennial all-star, made it to the finals once, had a couple of nice battles with Michael Jordan and with Reggie Miller, but other than one time, never really had a chance to win a championship. Like if Patrick Ewing did that, but it was in Milwaukee or
It'd be different because
or in Indianapolis,
yeah.
He would not be the player that we remember fondly. But
think about if
it's Patrick Ewing in the Garden.
Well, and
right?
very much like New York, LA is the same way, right? So like when one of the most famous examples is Kareem, right? Kareem won a championship in Milwaukee and said, I want to go to LA. I want to go to New York, right?
Yes.
If Kareem had spent his entire career in Milwaukee, was never a Laker, never part of Showtime, how much different we look at Kareem now?
Which is funny because Giannis looks like he's maybe on that path, or maybe he's not, because if they ultimately blow this thing up in a couple of years. But it's just New York famous is just different famous. I know like a lot of baseball people will get like Derek Jeter, if he's a Colorado Rocky, he might be a Hall of Famer. He's a borderline Hall of Famer because he got 3,000 hits, right? But if Derek Jeter was a Colorado Rocky, there is no way, shape, or form he gets a 6-part documentary.
He's not the captain.
He's not the captain. I'm not saying he's Troy Tulowitzki. I'm just saying if Derek Jeter was a Colorado Rocky, or if Derek Jeter was a Cincinnati Red, we do not look at him the same. He was anointed because he was a Yankee. New York fame is different. So if you look at star power in the East, though, if you're the Boston Celtics, right, let's live in a world where the Bucks get eliminated tonight. And let's live in a world where the Sixers get eliminated tonight. Who scares you? Does anybody in the East scare you? Certainly not Cleveland or Orlando. Orlando's too young. They will be good. I think Orlando, if they can, again, kind of keep the band together, which is going to be a tough thing in mid-markets with a guy like Paolo Banchero, who's going to be, I think, he's going to be a dude.
The Knicks. These they play defense.
The Knicks scare you if you're.
They play defense.
Even if you're Boston, though.
Yeah, because they could throw you off your groove. Now, can they beat you 4 times? I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
But could they beat you twice? Yeah. Could they? Jalen Brunson. I know you're not quite ready to anoint him.
Oh no, I love him. I love him as a player. I like
as a star.
He's the
as a
type,
star. I mean,
as a star, I'm
yes.
not. You're right.
But it's close. Like for me, I watch him and it's like. Justin, I think you also get put on the fast track to being a superstar if you're in New York.
You 100% do.
And you can kind of skip the line, if you know what I mean.
I mean, they tried to anoint Julius Randle a couple of years ago. Julius Randle's a nice player. He's not a superstar in the league.
But how good would they be if they had him? They're not.
It'd be nice.
Right?
Sure, it's a piece.
I think of all the teams, like even Embiid and the Sixers, that series scares me the most, Justin, because Tyrese Maxey's looking like a dude.
Mm-hmm.
Embiid is a dude, MVP. So you got 2 dudes, 2 superstars, or at least 1 superstar, 1 budding superstar on that team. And then the Knicks, man, they just play good defense, and the Garden vibes are real right now.
It's the toughest thing that I have with the NBA playoffs. I hate that they take so much time between games. It drives me nuts that they take so much time between games. But if I'm being honest, in a series like what's going on with Philadelphia and New York, because they take so much time between games, it can create swings in momentum. As I said, beware of the momentum of a series. It doesn't exist. New York at home. Philadelphia is ready to just start dumping on Joel Embiid. He's called out the fans. Now they go back to Madison Square Garden. Remember, the fans of New York took over Philadelphia, and the Knicks, full strength as they're going to be in the postseason, all they got, and the Sixers show up. And Embiid didn't even play that well, but Tyrese Maxey had the game of his life. So now you think like, oh, Philadelphia. Boy, if we just get something out of Embiid at home, push this to a game 7, then it's coin flip, right? But we've seen these swings in momentum where it looks like one team has got it all figured out. And I think you look at what happened last night with the Clippers and the Mavericks. I know they don't have Kawhi Leonard, but the Clippers go in, they win game 4. James Harden drops in 30-some points. Like, all right, no Kawhi, no problem. We still got James Harden. He can still get buckets, and we're going back home. Yeah, James Harden scores 6 points. Luka coming off of the flu, coming off of a sprained knee, and is like, yeah, I'm a top 5 player in this league today. Top 5 player in this league tonight, I'm going to be. And tip of the cap to Luka. I hate the fact that they take so much time between games, but I think the reason that maybe you get these swings is because they do take so much time in between games. You can get rest. You can get strategy. You can get things figured out. All right, so we got a lot of basketball to talk about. Obviously, games going on tonight, games that happened last night. We may dive into some football. I might get hooked back into the Colorado stuff. With college football, I might get hooked.
It went further, Justin.
I might get hooked back into that Colorado stuff. But Charles Barkley had something interesting to say last night on Inside the NBA, talking about the coaching carousel that goes on in NBA basketball and the quick hook that maybe some of these coaches are looking at. And I'm going to ask the question, is that just kind of part of the gig? We'll talk about that next. 620 Rip City Radio. It's a weird thing that I'm noticing in the NBA. It almost seems like from a coaching security standpoint, from a job security standpoint from NBA head coaches, is it almost better to be so bad you don't make the playoffs than to lose in the first round? That's probably just who were not anywhere close to the NBA postseason. The Blazers being one of them, but the Blazers, the Spurs, the Rockets, Pistons, who seem to be just fine with their head coaches. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm not saying that as a criticism. I'm just throwing it out there that you look at the handful of teams, whether it's Monty Williams, whether it's Chauncey Billups, whether it's Greg Popovich, whether it's Ime Udoka, right? It's any of these, none of those guys. Now, obviously, I probably shouldn't put Popovich in that category because, he's a Hall of Famer and all. But none of those guys have any worry, at least for the foreseeable future, about losing their job. We'll see what happens with Monty Williams in Detroit. Obviously, I think year 4 is going to be massively pivotable. Pivotable? That's not a thing, Justin. Massively pivotal, I think, in the future of Chauncey Billups with the Portland Trail Blazers, because next year, I think, you have to show some improvement. Now, I'm not saying they have to make the play-in, and I in Detroit is fine. Ime Udoka in Houston is fine. Clearly Steve Kerr is fine. Eric Spoelstra, he's fine. Those guys, Popovich, Spoelstra, and Kerr, they all have multiple rings. And then you look into the first round. Darvin Ham on the hot seat, potentially being fired there in Los Angeles. Frank Vogel in Phoenix, a bit on the hot seat. Do you wonder what happens to Ty Lue if the Clippers lose this? Does Ty Lue get on the hot seat at all? I don't think so, but you never know.
That would surprise me.
I mean, Nick Nurse just got there in Philadelphia, right? So he's not going anywhere. Doc just got there in Milwaukee.
Literally.
So he's not going anywhere. If the Knicks blow this lead and they end up losing in 7 to the 76ers, Tom Thibodeau might be on the hot seat a little bit. I'm not saying he will. I'm just saying. So it's an interesting spot that some of these coaches are in where being bad, like so bad that you don't have expectations, is maybe a little bit better than actually having expectations into the playoffs, whether they are realistic expectations or not, and falling short of them. Because you see two guys in Frank Vogel and Darvin Ham who are on the hot seat and maybe potentially being fired, but it was not their fault that their teams were substandard. So it got me thinking about just coaching in general and NBA coaching in general. So last night on Inside the NBA, Charles Barkley took to the microphone and throughout this minute-long, was this a rant? I would say a fairly good rant, but this was Charles Barkley talking about media and coaching and the state of such in the NBA. This was last night on TNT.
Also, you said you wanted to say something coaching.
Yeah, part of our job, we watch all the games and we watch all the talk shows. A lot of these people on television, they're cowards because they want the players to like them. They don't want to do their job, which is to tell the truth. And I just want to say this about coaching. Anybody who thinks the reason the Lakers suck is because of Darvin Ham or the reason the Suns suck is because of Frank Vogel. You don't know what you're talking about. Frank Vogel is a hell of a coach. Darvin Ham is a hell of a coach trying to get his career started. But for all you punks, idiots, and jackasses on other networks who want to be media and who want all the players to like y'all, do your damn job. The Lakers suck, and the Suns suck because of the players. Has nothing to do with the coaches. I feel better now.
Here, I can tell. Looks like you like getting that off your chest.
I did. I hate it, man. You sit there like Darvin Ham needs to get fired. Frank Vogel needs to get fired. Who put them teams together? Them trash-ass teams put together need to get fired. Them guys, they didn't just all of a sudden suck as coaches. People who put them teams together they start packing up their stuff.
So that's Charles Barkley last night. Feels very targeted at maybe Stephen A. Smith a little bit. Feels maybe a little bit at the ESPN shows, whether it's Get Up, which is on right now, or First Take, which is Stephen A. show. But it got me thinking. I do understand, because I've been in the media, and I've been susceptible to this as well on a very, very, very local level. Here's the thing that I'm going to say that nobody else in the media will say. Brenden, it's super fun when the players like you. It feels good. It feels good when the players like you.
That's at every level.
It just is. Nobody wants to say it. And Charles Barkley is 100% right. Like, it feels good when players like you. When I was in Seattle, had a fun back and forth banter with Doug Baldwin. Felt awesome. And then when Doug Baldwin would screw up, you know what I didn't want to do? I didn't want to criticize him. I've seen it at, obviously, the smaller level, not the national level. So going in knowing that is just going to be the case, that nobody really wants to call out what the problem was in Los Angeles, which I think is fairly clear. LeBron and Anthony Davis don't work. For whatever reason, LeBron and Anthony Davis, whether it's age, whether it's injury, they don't work. Justin, they won a title in the bubble. I hear you. Do you believe in your heart of hearts that if the pandemic never happened, or if it was delayed 4 months, and that the NBA season played out through the month of March and the month of April, and then we would have a postseason where you would have to travel? Do you believe in any way, shape, or form the Lakers still win the title that year? They might. They might. The Warriors were down. The Warriors had given up on the season, remember? Durant was injured, or he was even gone, but Steph broke his hand. Clay came off of an Achilles. Like, the Warriors were out. But other than that bubble run, which I know I like to poke fun at, there are still some problematic things. They got a break. An older team benefited from that. You didn't have to travel. Older team benefited from that. There was no true road game. There were no true home games either. But other than that bubble run, LeBron and Anthony Davis ain't working. And then they tried it with adding all of LeBron's friends. Remember when they tried to add LeBron's friends and they're like, that's not working. Westbrook, it ain't working. Who else did they bring in? And they bring in Carmelo for a bit. That wasn't working.
I mean, Russell Westbrook.
That's
obviously the biggest one. Yeah, I mean, because they traded away that championship team for Russ. So that's still the biggest one.
And they've been in the play-in twice. They made it to the Western Conference Finals last year, but they were, what were they? Were they an 8 seed last year? Or a 6 seed last year? And they were nowhere close. They were nowhere close because they got swept in 4 games. But nobody wants to call out LeBron. And nobody really wants to call out Anthony Davis either. So guess what? Darvin Ham gets the slings and the arrows. Let's go to Phoenix. I will tip the cap to super producer Brenden because you were the first one to be like, hey, that second apron thing is a big deal. And I'm like, yeah, but they got superstars, right? It'll make up for it. What? So got a couple guys coming off the bench. They
Money
got Kevin
matters,
Durant.
Justin.
They got all these superstars. Like, yeah, but they don't have anybody else to play behind them. And usually that mid-level exception and that taxpayer exception and all that stuff that they forfeited to be able to have all that star, that's where you find your guys that'll play defense. That's where you find a guy that can put in 15 minutes when maybe you get into some foul trouble because foul trouble becomes a thing in the postseason. But nobody wants to rip Kevin Durant. That maybe, potentially, since he left the Golden Goose, which was the Golden State Warriors, since he left the gravy train and was like, they seem to like Steph better than me. Don't know how much of that was a factor. I believe it was. I won 2 NBA Finals MVPs. Yeah, they will always love him more than they love you. It's just, all right, I'm going to Brooklyn. Not happy in Brooklyn. All right, I'm going to Phoenix. Not happy in Phoenix. You weren't happy in Oklahoma City either. You know, we talk about this with Bill Belichick, which I think is fair. Hey, look at Bill Belichick without Tom Brady. Look at Kevin Durant without the Golden State Warriors. Now, he did win an MVP, and they did go to the finals. The baby Thunder did go to the finals. They lost in 5, I believe. And he did win an MVP in Oklahoma City. But in terms of superstardom, he joined a team that won 83 games the year before, won a couple of NBA Finals, got hurt, lost one, and hasn't made it out of the second round since. But we don't want to throw that out there with Kevin Durant because we all want Kevin Durant to like us. So Frank Vogel gets the slings and the arrows, knowing that anybody, and again, I'm not counting me as this, I'm saying anybody that knows about roster construction in basketball probably looked at the Phoenix Suns and was like, that ain't it. That's not going to work. Now, I'm average Joe basketball fan, and I was like, I recognize all those names. Of course it's going to work. But then Drew Eubanks and Nasir Little are like pivotal guys coming off the bench. Like, those aren't guys that are going to get you coming off the bench into the NBA Finals, even with Kevin Durant. So now Frank Vogel takes the slings and the arrows. And at some point, maybe Tom Thibodeau is going to take some of the slings and the arrows if the Knicks lose this series. Is this just part of the job of an NBA owner? Is this just or not NBA owner, excuse me, an NBA head coach? Is this just part of the job? Do you just go in knowing that, like, all right, biggest thing I got to be able to do, I got to manage egos. Second thing I got to do is delegate to my assistant coaches. And third thing I got to do is, when the team's not playing well, and it's clearly not my fault, I have to be the scapegoat. Do you just kind of go in, like, knowing that it's going to be on you?
I think it comes with the territory, Justin, and I think most of these coaches know that, and that's why they're paid such a high premium. I mean, I think it's fascinating that Matt Ishbia had his press conference yesterday for the Suns, and he wouldn't commit to Frank Vogel one way or another, and then it said, well, Vogel has, 4 years, 25, 30 million, something like that left on his deal. Justin, think about what they're paying players on a per yearly basis. You can fire your coach, eat that money, and guess what? That doesn't count against your salary cap.
I know. You can just keep rolling out money. And maybe that's another reason why this becomes a thing. The financial part of it is, part of it is the media doesn't want to call out players, and they're more comfortable calling out coaches. And I think another part of it is, from a financial standpoint, it's just still probably tough to cut a check. Even if you're a billionaire, you still don't want to cut a check to somebody. But it doesn't count against the cap, does it? That's an easy appeasement to the fans of like, hey, we're not going to take this lying down. We're moving on in a different direction, but also it doesn't hurt us from a cap perspective. Is it unfair to throw stuff at Lawrence Frank? Or Frank Vogel? Why do I think Lawrence Frank? Like the old...
he is the GM for the Clippers, so there you go.
He used to be the coach of the
He was.
Nets.
Yes, but he's GM of the Clippers now. So, yeah.
I don't know why.
Very relevant.
Frank Vogel and Lawrence Frank, I screw them up all the time. I don't know why.
Both are still very relevant, so I appreciate it. Tip of the cap, Justin.
That I brought up a Lawrence Frank reference.
Yeah, no, you're on it, man. Clippers are still rolling.
But, like, you watch the Suns. They clearly didn't have – they blamed DeAndre Ayton. Maybe it wasn't all DA's fault. They thought – and I don't know how much Frank Vogel had anything to do with this. They thought that making that deal and getting Yusuf Nurkic, a guy who outside of one 3-month run has never played at a incredibly high level. He's a solid get-the-job-done center when playing with Damian Lillard. Never been dynamic in any way, shape, or form. Has shown bouts of pouting, has showed bouts of quitting. And I know that it got a little bit testy with the Phoenix Suns and DeAndre Ayton, but maybe DA wasn't the problem. DA came to the Blazers, and other than the air mattress thing and the ice storm thing, put up some pretty good numbers. But if you look at the way that roster was constructed, you replaced DeAndre Ayton with Yusuf Nurkic. I guess Grayson Allen was a solid player.
Yeah, Grayson, I mean, he just got a big contract. He had a big year shooting the basketball, but just not enough.
But the other thing is, and this is where, again, kind of going back to what Charles Barkley was saying, I do think there is something when you start making tons and tons of money as Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal and Devin Booker all – do you really want to grind out a first-round series against Minnesota, who is fiery and young and hungry? And, yeah, they're making a lot of money too. But it's, I think, a little bit easier to go 3-2-1. And that's not on the head coach. These rosters are constructed with clear deficiencies because we still get drunk on star power in the NBA. Myself, guilty as much as anybody. But I just mentioned, like, the Boston Celtics are, like, yeah, Jason Tatum's a star. Jaylen Brown, I think, is a perennial all-star. But that's not a flashy team. It's kind of a boring team. They just steamroll you. It might be better to be in the lottery as a head coach than to lose in the first round. Because losing in the first round apparently is potentially getting guys fired. Now, who knows if they ultimately get fired? All right, we've got some more hoops to talk about. Games tonight, Dame and Giannis. Should they even entertain the thought of Dame and Giannis playing in this series, especially if it gets back to a Game 7, plus Sixers and Knicks coming up tonight as well. But before we do all of that, I do need to tell you about Oregon's roofing, siding, windows, and bath renovation experts. Of course, I am talking to you about DeBella. And for the past few months, you've been thinking about updating your home. Now that we are in May, it's going to be May. It's the perfect season to make that happen. Friends at DeBella do phenomenal work. You've probably seen them at HGTV, Real Simple, Better Homes and Garden, 15,000 plus 5-star reviews. Plus, as you plan your summertime spending, you want to save some money. Well, you could pay for a brand new roof with savings and federal and state incentives. All you got to do is go with Solar Shingles. That's right. Solar Shingles could potentially pay for a brand new roof. DeBella's got all the details. Talk to them today for a free, easy, freezy estimate. Schedule on a time that is convenient for you. Now is the time to update your roofing, your siding, your windows, and your bath renovations. DeBella, incredible financing of no payment until 2025 on approved credit. Start saving today. All right, 2 games last night in the NBA. 2 games coming up tonight. Got eliminations. We got injury updates. And I don't want to say a ticket controversy, but an interesting story on tickets in Philadelphia. It is time to continue our NBA talk, which we've been doing a ton of here in hour number 1 with Roundball Rock. Here we go. All right, let's start with a fun story. The Sixers owners, Josh Harris, David Blitzer, and David Adelman, along with Michael Rubin. These are the owners of the Sixers. They bought more than 2,000 tickets for Game 6 in Philadelphia. According to Michael Rubin's Twitter post, we absolutely cannot let Knicks fans take over our arena again. They're giving them to first responders, healthcare professionals, and other local Philadelphia-based organizations. I love this move. I do. I love this move. Once we know they are legit Sixers fans and not imposters, they will be able to get the tickets. Let's go Sixers. We can do this. That is from Michael Rubin, who is one of 5 owners of the Philadelphia 76ers. I love it. More owners should do that. I understand that, look, we're here to make a buck, right? And nobody became a billionaire by giving a lot of stuff away. And the thousands and thousands of dollars that and the tens of thousands, and the hundreds of thousands of dollars you were going to make on playoff tickets, I get it, but I love this move by the 76ers. Yeah. We're going to buy up a bunch of tickets. All right, Brenden, if you were owner of a team, and there's only one owner in the NBA who I think would actually do this, but if you were an owner of a team, and you could prove that certain season ticket holders were selling off their tickets to opposing fans. I'm not saying take their season tickets away, but maybe they get downgraded in their seats.
Justin, would feel like...
Should there be punishment for selling tickets to opposing teams' fans? Or are you on board with, hey, my ticket, my choice, if I can make $1,000 and not go to Game 6 and sell it to some crazy Knicks fan, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, so quick story time with nephew Brenden over here.
Gather around, take a knee, helmet's not a chair, boy.
Yeah, so I would lean your way, for sure. But I'm a hypocrite, Justin, because in 2012, Oregon State game, one of the biggest CWs there was as far as attendance. Oregon was ranked top.
2012, they got to be 3.
Yeah, and Oregon State was like 16th or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was one of the better games, and I had 2 tickets to that game. Justin, I sold them to Duck fans and made a pretty profit off that as a high school junior. So it's tough, right? Like with that, I think it's subjective. We could all be motivated by money.
So, here's the thing. I am an Oregon season ticket holder right now. Depending on the circumstance and the situation, I could probably pay for at least half of my season, if not maybe the entire season, if I decided to sell my Ohio State tickets.
Or Washington at home this year, right?
Yeah. Well,
but would you do that?
I'm definitely the Washington is off the table because you should know who's actually paying for the tickets.
Just hypothetically, though, would you be morally
That's
against
what I'm saying.
giving
There's
it to a
no
Husky
way
fan?
in HE double hockey sticks I would ever sell. I'm going to be at that game. I'm going to be at that game. Now, I can understand if you're a Blazer fan and it's a bad season and you're like, the Warriors are in town tonight and here come – because the Warriors fans are the new invaders, right? Who are the worst invaders?
Lakers.
The Lakers still the worst? Worse
so.
than the Warriors? There was a run, though, where there was a lot of Warrior stuff.
Yeah,
in and around Moda Center.
Yeah, I'll still see a LeBron jersey all the time. I mean, they're everywhere.
But it's either the Lakers or the Warriors. And I can understand if you're a Blazer fan and you're like, I could make $300, sell these tickets. It's a Thursday. Maybe I don't want to go. It's a regular season. If you got playoff tickets, like you got to go to that game. Just like I would think as a season ticket holder for Oregon, there is no way I'm missing that game. Now the Washington game, that's not even negotiable. Even though that is the hardest day every year in my marriage. And then, of course, they made it an extra day with the championship game.
I don't think you'll have to worry too much this year.
You say that, but you never know. Brenden, football's weird. You never know. It's a fool's errand to try to predict the college football season in the month of May. I've tried to do it. But anyways, credit to owners, the 76ers owners. I love this move. Buy up all the tickets, but I do think some fans, if you sell playoff tickets, you should face some sort of penalty. You got to face a penalty. All right, next question. Dame Giannis, both listed as doubtful. Now, I know that Doc Rivers hinted that they are both very close. Says they are right on the cusp of potentially returning, but I think the fact that they're listed as doubtful, if either one of those guys, let me put a number on it, is 80%. Do you run them out there for Game 6?
I wouldn't know.
You say,
yeah,
off limits the rest of the series.
Yeah, I mean, I'm biased because I don't want the Bucks to win this series, but I also
let's try to eliminate emotion. Like, just as an organization, you got those two guys. You know, Brenden, I think 80% Dame and 80% Giannis. I think they win Game 6. I do. I think they win Game 6.
I told you how much money yesterday is committed to those two players.
$500 million.
Half a billion sounds cooler, but yeah.
Does it?
$500 million.
Does $500 million sound cooler than $500 million?
I think so.
Maybe.
Yeah. Like
I remember when
$500
I remember when Alex Rodriguez signed his $262 million contract, which at the time seemed like it was the most outrageous thing in the history of economics, let alone sports. And then everybody loved to say, $250 million.
See, it's true.
So it's funny looking back. That was quaint.
Yeah. Oh, Tawny's like, hold my beer.
Yeah. Tawny's like, I make $700 million now.
So it's even cooler. $750 million.
$750 million.
But yeah, no, I
Will
don't know,
we
Justin.
see a player sign $1 billion contract?
It will happen. Probably baseball first, if I were to guess, just because they can do like 20 years, 15.
Yeah.
Like
20 years, if we're already in the sevens, we're pretty close.
I mean, as much as I'd love it to be, it has to be someone like Ohtani. Like, I know Adley's going to sign a gargantuan contract, probably like $500 million at best.
Mm-hmm.
You need someone who's two-way,
But there's not ever going to be another two-way guy. I don't think.
Maybe will there be? His kids are like, look, Ohtani's doing it. Maybe, right?
I don't know if it's the kids as much as the coaches.
Could be.
Right?
Yeah,
because that was the whole thing with Ohtani was he was like, it was a directive. Like, you want any chance, he's doing both. Whereas if you are even if you were a high-level college coach, you're like, I'm sorry, you have to pick one. You're a pitcher or a hitter.
That's true.
I shouldn't say a high-level coach because there are some guys that do both in college.
Yeah,
but if you're an organization, I don't know if they're ever going to allow someone to do it unless it is a foreign-born player that comes in on a directive like Ohtani did.
Yeah, I think it'd have to be very special. Like, I follow college baseball pretty close, Justin, as you know. There's like one or two guys each year that hit both ways and play both ways, and sometimes they're very
Who's the guy for LSU?
Oh,
that transferred from like BYU.
Oh, was that? It was either Paul Skeens or Dylan Cruz.
Skeens, I think it was Skeens.
Yeah, and he was so good. But yeah, so yeah, I would say that for sure.
All right, coming up next, we've got Make or Miss. We have got stuff we saw on the internet. Hour number 2, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 7 a.m. on a Thursday morning. Justin Myers with you. NBA playoffs last night. The Boston Celtics blow up Miami to move on to the second round, 118-84. They close out that series 4-1. They will face the winner of Cleveland and Orlando. Cleveland has a 3-2 lead in that series. The Dallas Mavericks, speaking of 3-2 lead, they win Game 5 in Los Angeles as they take down the Clippers 123-93. Pair of Game 6s tonight. The New York Knicks can still close out the series, but they have to head to Philadelphia. Philadelphia looking to force a Game 7, and the Pacers at home trying to eliminate Milwaukee. Both Dame and Giannis listed as doubtful for tonight's Game 6. Coming up, we're going to talk some Seattle Seahawks with Brady Henderson, friend of the program from ESPN.com. But hour number 2 of Rip City Mornings, it starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Coming up in 20 minutes, Brenden has a make or miss. Coming up in 44 minutes-ish, stuff we saw on the internet. There's some new blizzards out there. We have to do because the draft, the ping pong balls are going to be bouncing for the Blazers in a couple of weeks. We're going to have to do a draft lottery for the new blizzard flavors coming out because while the weather does not look like we are taking a turn into from spring into summer, the calendar certainly says so. It's almost blizzard season. So we may dive into that. I was thinking about this. All right, let's throw it out there. I asked Brenden last hour because we were looking back at salaries. It started with the fact that over the next 4 years, the Milwaukee Bucks owe both Dame and Giannis somewhere in the neighborhood of $500 million, or, as some would say, $500 million. Shohei Ohtani is in year 1 of a $700 million contract. LeBron James is playing to year 22, where he's essentially on a year-to-year contract. It's kind of a supermax rolled over every single year. And then you also see the salaries of NFL quarterbacks that are continuing to go up and up and up. So much so that Patrick Mahomes redid his deal, restructured his deal so that other guys could be paid. So here's my question. A, do you think by 2030, in the next 6 years, by 2030, will we see a billion-dollar athlete? Do you think we will get to the point where we will see a billion-dollar athlete? Because we talk about it all the time with regard to TV and TV revenue. Live sports on TV is the only thing keeping broadcast television somewhat alive. I think local news and live sports. Every other show, people watch streaming. Now, I don't know, can streaming exist without the backing of the broadcast networks? I don't know. I'm not a TV exec. I hosted a TV show once, but I'm not a TV exec. I don't know how that works, right? Does Peacock still work? Does Paramount Plus still work? If you don't have the backing of your monster behemoth that is NBC or CBS, legendary broadcasting corporation. So I don't know, but regardless, here's what I do know, though, is more and more money is being dumped into live sports. So much so that you are going to see in the next handful of years, Apple, Amazon is going to get in the mix. NBC is, what was the number? 1.5 billion, something like that, or 2.5 billion with an offer to the NBA. We know that the Big Ten they were able to expand because NBC came in with $1 billion offer. So much money is being dumped into live sports, and you know that the king that is the NFL, I don't think they're done. Like, Amazon keeps adding games. When the renegotiations come back around, these broadcast networks are going to have to pay through the nose, because if you do not have live sports, especially if you do not have the NFL, you're irrelevant. Right? CBS and Fox have the Sunday morning and afternoon games. NBC's got Sunday Night Football, and ABC's got Monday Night Football. If you don't, like, one of those goes away, you become irrelevant. So more and more money is going to be dumped in, which means these teams, or not these teams, excuse me, these leagues are going to be like, all right, more money is coming in. We are generating more revenue. Salary caps are going up. In the next 6 years, by 2030, will we see a $1 billion athlete? Ohtani's at $700 million right now. And I think Ohtani is a bit of a special case. If you had to pick someone out there, like, Brenden, I wonder, like, if C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud, now I know he's on a rookie deal. But C.J. Stroud certainly, from year one, looks like he is going to be a top-level, high-level quarterback in the NFL for probably the next 10 to 15 years, barring injury. With the salary cap likely going up and the salaries for quarterbacks and the importance for quarterbacks and the fact that if you have one, you never let them go. Could C.J. Stroud earn $1 billion?
I don't think it'll happen in the NFL, Justin. And
because the hard salary cap?
That and, like, but then again, I'll take a step back.
How about
it was
I got another guy too.
It was how many years ago now? What, 4? That Mahomes had a $500 million deal. So that's halfway there. Now, at the time, and even still since, Justin, nobody's gotten that much money. And nobody. And that's because we know that Patrick Mahomes is, again, I love Tom Brady. He's the greatest winner, greatest quarterback of all time. Patrick Mahomes is probably the most talented quarterback of all time. And he's coming. And I understand why he was paid that much. Now, to your point, I think it'll be baseball. Because football contracts, Justin, are still capped at 4 or 5 years. Yeah. Baseball, you can go, what? 12 years, 10.
But here's what I'm wondering with and I've got maybe a thought on basketball too, but here's my thought on football is baseball, very rarely, if you get these gigantor deals, you don't get to a second deal.
That's
right?
Fair. True.
A-Rod did, though. A-Rod got the $276 million, and he signed it with the Rangers, and then he signed another extension with the Yankees for, I think, $275 million, which is not that long ago. Figure out inflation, all that. But I'm just wondering, like, if the salary cap continues to go up, C.J. Stroud at some point is going to be making $60 million a year, right? He's going to be. If he stays healthy, he plays at a Pro Bowl level. As young as he is, he's going to be making about $60 million a year. That's where I think salaries are ultimately going to go. I don't know if we're going to see a football player get a $1 billion contract. Nobody can afford that, the salary cap. But do you think over the course of his career, is somebody playing a sport right now that by the end of it, they are career earnings $1 billion? I think somebody is.
Yeah, I think
because LeBron, I think, is close, but it's because of his shoe stuff. Jordan's a billionaire because of the shoes. It's got to be the shoes. What about Anthony Edwards?
LeBron has made $500 million. In
22 years.
And pure salary. Salary. So
it's got to be somebody young. And obviously, look, the cap is going to go up in the NBA. More guys are going to continue to make more and more money. What about Anthony Edwards? Anthony Edwards.
Maybe. If I was going to pick an NBA player just because he's an alien, it'd be Wemby.
Oh, Wemby.
Wemby might be able to make $1 billion one day. That would not surprise me.
Wemby is the right answer.
Yeah, because I love Anthony Edwards, and I think he's great.
And this is barring injury, though. He's like 7-footers plus don't usually have 20-year careers. It's got to be somebody.
Jokic will be the only one. He doesn't jump. That's what I said. I'm going to ride with that till the day he retires, Justin. It's like Embiid, Nurkic, pretty much go to any other center. DeAndre Ayton had a knee issue this year. Nikola Jokic is the only 7-footer I've ever seen, Justin, who is incapable of getting hurt. It's fascinating.
this is
Mythbusters needs to get on this.
This is one of the this is one of the things, though, I will give LeBron credit for, right? LeBron, after the bubble championship, could have rode off into the sunset, right? A lot of people would consider him the second greatest player of all time. There's arguments to be made, but I don't put him above Jordan. But after that, it's Magic, it's Bird, it's Wilt, it's LeBron, right? That's the conversation we're talking about. It's Kareem. And the fact that he continues to chase after, whether it is that sixth ring, whether it is after kind of that Michael Jordan, that ghost of Michael Jordan, or the fact that he's just going to maybe put the longevity record so far away, or maybe it's the playing with his kid or anything else. I mean, that's the other thing with this discussion topic. At some point, Brenden, don't you just get fat and happy? Right? It's like, do I want to go back to training camp again? Do I, like Tom Brady, if Tom Brady never took a team-friendly deal, he might be close. Probably not close. But, like, the fact that he played as long as he did into his 40s, you got to be somebody crazy wired, like, all right, I have won a championship. Now that doesn't exist anymore. It's now on to the next.
Yeah, because Brady's almost there. Like, he made $500 million from his 23-year career, and then he signed the 10-year, $400 million Fox Sports contract. So Brady's essentially really soon going to be worth $1 billion. I mean, if he's not already, it's getting close. But that contract with Fox Sports was also insane. Like,
I think C.J. Stroud maybe has a chance, but again, football, there's injury. Injury is so crazy.
And does Roger Goodell let that happen in the next foreseeable future? I don't know.
That's a good question.
Like the NBA,
because
I think, give it to him.
More and more money is going. Like the NBA is going to sign whatever deal that they sign, whether it's Turner gets a better offer in or whatever, and you are going to see the future, Justin? Yeah, the future is going to be these tech companies, right? We have all decided, us as a society, we don't want to go to the store. Well, we will if we have to, but we really don't want to go to the store. And therefore, Amazon's not going anywhere anytime soon. And if Amazon wants to get into the sports broadcasting game, they can outbid everybody. Everybody, except maybe Apple. Is Amazon bigger than Apple? You know all this stuff. Is Amazon bigger than Apple?
No.
No.
But it's close.
It's right there,
Yeah,
though.
it's close. They're all worth many trillions.
So if Amazon and Apple just decided we want to own sports,
They could.
They could.
Microsoft could. I mean, yeah, there are several.
Microsoft could. But Microsoft, they don't have a streaming network.
No.
Just put them all on Xbox. Is Xbox still a thing?
Oh, yeah. They make their money from AI and Xbox for sure. But, yeah, I mean, any of the tech companies, that's why we joked forever. Like, whenever Jeff Bezos wants to own a team, he will.
Yeah.
Like,
but I don't know if he's trying to own a team. I think he might be trying to own a league.
Right.
He's doing the slow. We got Thursday Night Football on Prime. What about Black Friday? What about a Christmas game?
We've seen Apple dabble in it with soccer. Like, it's all going to continue, Justin.
All right, coming up next, we have got Make or Miss on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, coming up in an hour from now, Brady Henderson from ESPN.com is going to join us. A little look back at the Seahawks draft. You love that guy that defensive tackle out of Texas.
Really good player.
Is he the first defensive player taken? I think he was.
He was.
The Seahawks trying to rebuild the Legion of Boom. Are they going to try to go back to the Smash Mouth days? And I know they got rid of Pete Carroll, and it obviously you had the Russell Wilson let Russ cook era, but
I apologize. Second defensive player taken. Latu from UCLA was the first.
How could we forget?
He was
Latu.
But still, 15 and 16 were the first two defensive picks. So that itself is still quite amazing.
I do wonder if there's going to be a swing in the NFL. I don't know. I don't think so, because I do think the rules, like, this is why everything changes. Usually the NFL was cyclical, right? I think that's the proper way to terminize it. Did I just say that wrong? I think it was like, the offense gets heavy and all this, everybody just starts investing, and then somebody just decides that they're going to build with defense, and then all of a sudden, now you got defense wins, and you see teams like the 2000 Ravens, you see teams like the 04 Steelers, and you see like defense and running the ball, and then like, no, it's passing the ball. And you could kind of go with this ebb and flow in the league until they started messing around with the rules. You know what I mean? Once they started going like, defense, that's cute. No, can't touch the quarterback. Well, I mean, you can, but he has to have the ball, and it's got to be, you got about 8 inches. That's about it. Other than that, can't touch him in the head, can't touch him in the legs. You can't, if you do tackle him with the ball, you can't touch him while he touches the ground. Like, just can't do it. So they changed that rule. All the illegal contact stuff in the defensive backfield, receivers are wide open. Like, that's why I don't know if we're ever going to be able to see a team like the 2000 Baltimore Ravens ever again. I don't know if it's ever going to happen unless they start changing the rules, which they're never going to do, because the way you change the rules is you let quarterbacks and receivers get hit, and I don't think you can reverse those rules in the NFL. So I think we're going to see more and more of this. If you have kids, teach them to play quarterback. So Brady Henderson is going to be joining us in an hour from now. I thought about this during the break, Brenden. We forgot one potential billionaire sport. Liv's going to pay somebody $1 billion, right? Like, Liv's going to pay some golfer $1 billion. And somebody's going to take it.
Who that could be.
Scotty Scheffler would be the guy I would think of. I don't know if he would take it right now, but he's like.
Who wouldn't take $1 billion, though, Justin?
Tiger Woods didn't. And if reports are accurate, and who knows if they are.
That's true.
But the reports were that they offered Tiger Woods $1 billion.
So you didn't want to take $1 billion to leave Nike, but you decided to leave Nike out of your own volition and
you're gonna make your own stuff
and make a weird Tiger logo that doesn't quite hit like a Nike swoosh.
Doesn't quite hit, but I think he's doing okay financially. I think he's going to be okay.
More power to you. Justin, you know this? I'm a swoosh guy, man. I got it right. Mike, I'm a swoosh guy, man.
You tell me.
I ride for the swoosh. I got him on my feet, man.
There's going to be a golfer getting paid $1 billion by Liv.
Yeah. I guess.
If you had to guess, it would be Scotty Scheffler.
Or
maybe
Matsuyama?
an international player, because internationally you can
say maybe Matsuyama.
So, like, here's the thing I learned.
He's pretty young, right?
Here's the thing I learned about Matsuyama. He might be, from a brand perspective.
33. He's a little older than I thought.
He might be the most valuable player in golf right now. And you might be saying, Justin, how on earth is that even possible? I heard one time it was like, essentially, every Asian golfer, which is a big number, play the equipment that he plays. And his equipment deal is through the roof.
I did not know that.
And it is a one-person economy in terms of like the equipment that he plays. Sales go through the roof. So it might be somebody like that. But if I had to guess, like, who, if I was sitting there at Live headquarters scared to death because, we all know where that money came from. And I was like, hey, we got $1 billion to offer somebody who you offered to Scotty Scheffler. I think that would be the biggest one.
I could see that. I could see it, but we'll see. I think golf it might cheat, Justin. Golf might be the first. It could be because they can just throw the the sovereign wealth money at it, and that's, as you know, Justin, that is an endless pit of money. It has no end. So
it really doesn't.
As long as everyone keeps driving their cars, that'll be an endless pit of money. Yeah, that's all you need to know.
Isn't it like Tiger Woods? $157 million in winnings, career earnings. And he's a billionaire because, well, everybody else just paid him all the money. All right, let's dive into Make or Miss.
All right, firing up Make or Miss.
Doesn't that number seem massively low?
Say that again.
That if I were to ask you, what do you think, just in golf alone, how much money has Tiger Woods earned in his career? 157 seems real low. 157 million.
That does seem very low.
But it does make sense, though, because there was a point where Tiger Woods just stopped playing tour events and was like, yeah, I just play the majors. I play the majors and I play a handful of others because I don't need this money. But that seemed very low. Anyways.
No, for sure. And you know what, actually, Justin? It's funny that we mentioned Nike because we got to make or miss about Nike for something we have not talked about on this show. But very interestingly enough, I've read some of the reports. Justin, Nike took a rare L with the MLB uniforms.
Had to fix them.
A rare L, though.
Yeah, sometimes and they've done this with...
Apparently they're see-through, Justin. You seen that? I haven't seen any of that. I don't know if was that.
I have seen that.
Is it real? Is it?
It's a real thing.
Okay, fair enough.
So, to Nike's credit, they are always trying to be innovative, right? Let's outthink this. I know this is the way it has always been, but let's try to innovate it I know this because I've sat through countless amount of presentations covering Oregon football where the Nike people come in and they go, here are the new uniforms. Here's the innovation. I know that it's all fancy colors, but here's the innovation. We've tried to cut down on ounces and breathability and flexibility and all this stuff. And they tried to do that with baseball uniforms, and they didn't factor in sliding in dirt because the pants were just a little too innovative, Brenden, in trying to maybe shave off an ounce here or there, and the pants were kind of see-through. And then they didn't hold up. 162 games is a lot. Players like their uniforms to fit a certain way, and they finally got into the spot where they innovated where nobody was asking for innovation. Like baseball players were good.
So
we're good. We don't need you to innovate. I know you. That's what you do. But we don't need it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, Justin, where if you're Nike, you got to be happy that your hit rate is like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, sometimes 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
But Justin, you know what this reminded me of? And you'll appreciate this. Why did we need to innovate Oregon State's sports bra jerseys in 2007?
This is what happens.
And look at how quickly they were gone, right?
Yeah.
Again, they think they burned them. Think they burned him?
I don't know. I think they're probably maybe in some third world country somewhere.
Fair. But it's I've never seen to my recollection, Justin, still one of the only times I've ever seen a football team wholesale change their uniforms in one season.
We're done. We tried this. It didn't hit. Nobody likes it.
There was an L on costs, because those uniforms are usually 4 or 5 years of use out of them.
But see, here's the thing. I, as an Oregon fan, I have seen far too many times where Nike has had some swings and misses, and then they've also had some swings and knock it out of the park. And usually it coincides with wins and losses because 2016 Oregon uniforms got out over their skis. 2016 was the state of Oregon uniforms where they threw it back to the Webfoots, right? It was like, we're going to be blue and yellow. Never mind that Cal is also in the conference at the time. and you look like another team. But this is what they were back in the 1800s. Don't care. And then was also the year they dressed up like a mascot. The year before, Lewis and Clark uniforms, where they put a topographical map on their uniforms.
Hey, those were kind of cool.
But they lost in overtime to a
know.
mediocre Washington State team
know.
that day. And those uniforms, surprisingly, Brenden, have never made their way back.
That was
Now, when they did go out and on a limb a handful of years ago with the speckled uniforms, the duck egg uniforms, they went on the road and beat UCLA that day. Surprisingly, those made it back.
Justin, you know how much
They had the most disgusting helmets in the Vegas Bowl that they lost to, I believe that was a BYU loss. And those
What's
helmets,
funny
surprisingly,
is you
never
still-
mid it back.
You still remember that that game against Washington State, Justin? I don't
Yeah.
know if any one coach.
I was at a bar in Seattle with my then radio producer at the time, who was a Coug, and I was, of course, the only Oregon fan in the bar. Yeah.
So with that, it's kind
Shout
of
out Bucky's on Queen Anne.
I don't know if there's been one coach, Justin, who has made more money off one performance of his defense in one game than Alex Grinch in that game. Because
Which is nuts because their defense didn't even play that well that day.
I just remember Alex Grinch, they stopped the dog. I mean, it was everywhere. That dude, again.
That was right about the time Oregon fans were learning that we got a quarterback depth problem.
Who was the backup? Was it
Jeff
Lockie?
Lockie.
Lockie, yeah.
Jeff Lockie.
Yeah.
And then he was so bad they had to put in Taylor Alley, who was a walk-on.
I remember that
And
well.
by the way, shout out to Taylor Alley. Guy was in a spot that never should have been in, but
And that
yeah,
was
it was
the
like-
year that Vernon broke his finger.
broke his hand against
Michigan State, right?
I think he might have broken his hand against Eastern Washington, his
Ah.
former team, week 1, and then tried to gut it out
Got
against
you.
Michigan State, and then went away. And then
What a time, man.
Colorado was in there. They weren't very good. And Oregon just kept giving the ball to Royce Freeman. And it worked until they got to Wazoo, and Washington State was like, yeah, we're going to turn this into a track meet, and you don't have a quarterback. And they figured that out, and they won in overtime with a topographical map on their uniform.
Well, okay. So of all the ones, I'm going to give you a make or miss on the fly. Topographical map,
That's terrible.
state of Oregon
Those
against
could have
Wa-
been cool.
against Washington, and then the Donald Duck. You have to pick. You have to pick one. You're wearing it opening game against Ohio State this year.
I'm wearing it?
No, like the team is wearing
Oh.
it. Like you have to pick one of those three. Just
oh, my God.
completely make believe scenario. Which one would you wear against Ohio State, Justin?
They're all so awful. The Donald Duck one is
The
that was
lesser
terrible,
of three
too.
evils, my friend.
I think the Lewis and Clark ones. The Lewis and
Okay.
Clark ones
Yeah.
are the least egregious out of all of them. No, like I was on an island with the Donald Duck ones, but I still think that is one of the silliest things that they like.
Don't like the orange feet.
Your Division I football team that's trying to win football games in a power conference, and you're dressing up like a cartoon duck. What are we doing?
Sounds like you've got some opinions on this, Justin. You've been ready to.
It was one of the dumbest. Like
All
I
right,
was
so
all
Lewis and
about
Clark.
the Oregon uniform innovation. Day one, I was there. The day they tried to dress up like a cartoon duck and play a football game was the day I said, too much, guys. Too much.
That's funny. That's too funny.
Breast cancer awareness, great. Great cause. Let's do it.
They do that every year. They do. Yep,
Yeah.
they
And
do.
I remember the first one when they started.
Truth
and it
be
was-
told, I'd like to see a little more pink in some Oregon State uniforms.
The
sometime.
pink and the orange be a little tough, though.
Yeah,
You go
like
pink and
Like
black,
if they
I
rock
guess.
like when they rock their black uniforms at home, you could do stripe. Like Oregon this last year was black uniforms, bits of pink and
Mhm.
green as well. I'm just saying, I support. I'd like to see some dabs of pink in October.
Every
The
once in a
Beavs?
while, throw that out there. I got no problem with it, obviously, and the cause means a lot to a lot of people.
But there was no cause for Donald
There
Duck.
was no cause
For Donald
them
Duck.
to dress up like a cartoon duck.
Okay, so the Donald Duck ones are
And
permanently.
here's the deal: I love Donald Duck. All right, when I was a kid, the coolest thing in the world was to get a hug from the duck at a basketball game or whatever. And I loved, still do, the Duck. I know it's not Donald because there's a whole lawsuit or a whole legal thing, and it's not Puddles either, by the way. How to spot a bandwagon Oregon fan? He says Puddles. It's not Puddles. It's the Duck. When you were growing up, like Benny was like the guy, right? Like, was that like the cool? Like, if you were like 8 or 9.
Oh yeah.
And you went to a game, it's like all you wanted to see was Benny.
Pictures with Benny and yeah, absolutely. I mean, to that point, I
didn't even watch the game. I was just like, where is the Duck?
Yeah, and of course, I mean, and it was even more. And I will say this, that's the unique thing with Oregon. Because, Justin, you could say, that's the same Donald Duck I see on TV. Like that part of it is, and good for Oregon, but it's like, you're like 1 degree of separation from Scrooge McDuck, right? I mean, that part's kind of cool that Oregon was able to make that still one of the coolest things ever, that Walt Disney and...
Were you too young for DuckTales?
Yeah. A little bit.
Too young for DuckTales.
But I forget who the president of Oregon was at the time, or athletic director, whatever it was. But, like, that handshake agreement with Disney, one of the most underrated and cool things maybe ever.
Well, and we'll never know the actual truth because...
Like, shout out, man. I don't know.
Because
That's
it's
really
just
cool.
a picture of him shaking Walt Disney's hand. Like, that proves that there was a deal. Like,
it's cool, man.
Does it, though?
It's cool. Anyway, let's get to one more before
we
close it out here, Justin. This is pretty easy. Colorado has reached an annoying, arrogant level.
I don't think this ends well for the Colorado Buffaloes. And I may have some more thoughts on this coming up in hour number 3 as well. But you want to be brash? Be brash. I love it. College football is about being brash. We talk about the Miami Hurricane swagger, right? We talk about the U, and but the difference was the U won games and then they started talking, right? The U was bad for a while. Howard Schnellenberger, he then turned them around. Then they started talking after they were beating teams. Colorado is doing all the talking in the spring after a 4-8 season and is, I think, in an era of transfers, in an era of what have you done for me lately, in an era of roster management being as important as anything. How dumb is it to get this kind of reputation? Whether it's real, fake, or somewhere in the middle, which everything is. The word out of Colorado now is if you don't get on board with the entire Coach Prime family, including Huey, Dewey, and Louie. A little Donald Duck reference there.
I remember him well.
Shadur, Shiloh, and Dion Jr., right? Little Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Like, if you were not on board with the three,
It literally is Donald Duck's nephews.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's an uncanny reference. Shout out the...
Every once in a while, I drop. Boom, magic. If you don't get on board with them, they're going to trash you. Could you imagine going and playing for a school where it's like, yeah, if you are not fully on board with the coach and his kids, they're going to trash you on social media. You don't think every other coach in America is sitting on couches, recruiting, going like, yeah, I was just pulling up Twitter. I see Deion Sanders, the head coach, trashing former players. We got a lot of former players on my team. I would never trash them. I say, you know what I mean? Negative recruiting is everything. And I think it's ultimately going to end very, very badly. Or maybe they'll be good enough to pull it off. All right. We're going to wrap up hour number 2. But before we do that, I do want to tell you about my friends at DeBella. That's right. The home improvement experts here in the great state of Oregon. They specialize in roofing, siding, windows, and bath renovations. I've been telling you about them for months. Well, we're now in a new month. May is here, and now is a great time to take care of projects in your home. Plus, here's the deal. DeBella will come to you. That's right. Schedule and provide you with a free estimate, and they will come to you. 15,000 5-star reviews on Google for their unbelievable work, and they offer that financing opportunity of no payments until 2025 on approved credit. So connect with DeBella today for a free, no-obligation appointment where they will come to you. They are your roofing, siding, windows, and bath project experts. They are DeBella. I would say, I wouldn't say elite level, but what is the difference? Is there a level between very good and elite?
No.
No.
I think that's, you
Like-
go from very good to, maybe superb, but that's just kind of getting.
I consider myself an upper echelon whistler.
You do the.
Like I can whistle
Can you do the
very loud.
the 2 fingers to get like?
Don't need them.
So you can get loud without that.
Don't need them.
Because like I can do like I can't do this. I can do like the with your lips whistle, but it's not loud enough to like quiet down a classroom.
Much like in golf, right? You have to have a drive and you have to be able to putt. I got both. So I would say, no, I'm just going to say it. I'm an elite level whistler. Give it one of those. That's. And then, you want me to do the loud one? Do you think it's going to blow
Yeah.
everybody's ear?
Why
All right,
not?
I'm going to do the loud whistle.
Okay, that's impressive.
Give it one
Like,
of those.
That's
Don't even need the pinky.
dude.
thing.
Crash must love you. Like that.
Well, he hates it because he knows the whistle means fun is over. And yeah, I was at a concert on Saturday up at the Tacoma Dome, and I maybe had some drinks, right? Maybe had some margaritas before. Maybe had some silver bullets, and I like to throw out the whistle to show my appreciation because I'm not a screamer. I talk enough for a living, and also I don't need to blow out the vocal cords at a concert so they show up on Monday with no voice. That would be pretty detrimental to the career. But I'll throw out the loud whistle. And I got a compliment. Woman sitting in front of me, she was like, that is an impressive whistle. Now, I don't know if that was a backhanded compliment of like, I'm sick of you whistling in my ear at the end of every song. I don't do it in the middle of songs. That's when I'm singing. Because when I go to shows, I sing the songs. Not loud enough to where it ruins the experience for everybody around me. Maybe it does, but I like to sing the songs. All right. Stuff we saw on the internet. You saw apparently a release. This is a very important thing. While I have said on multiple occasions, I'm not a dessert guy. I don't look forward to dessert. I don't get a sweet tooth. When I am going to go off the rails and eat badly, I want pizza. I want pasta. I want mashed potatoes and gravy. Like, that's what I want. I want double bacon cheeseburgers and French fries. That's me. Fried chicken sandwich. Oh, boy. But I'm not a, boy, do I want donuts or dessert or pie or cake. I love it, but there is one exception. I love a good blizzard.
Got me a fine dessert after trivia last night. It was
What'd you
clutch.
get?
Went to crumble cookie. You been?
I
Ever?
have.
Yeah, good crumble cookies are hard to beat.
Are they almost a little too undercooked?
They're very rich. You can't eat them in one sitting.
That's true.
I have to like break it into fourths. So like I had a fourth last night.
I don't like. There is a sweet spot
they're
in
soft,
terms
yeah.
of like too soft though, and not, and but you don't want them crispy either.
It's one of those things where I can't make a cookie that good myself. So it's
Yeah,
like
I wonder how they do that.
That's
What's
a
the
good
magic
question.
that they do?
every time I go in there, I'm like, I could work in here, dude.
What kind did you
smell
get?
Cookies
What kind of crumble cookie did you get?
Churro. Very delicious.
All right.
I don't go often because you know their menu changes every week. So every now and again I'll be like, what do they got? And I'm like, churro's my favorite by far. So good.
I love chocolate chip cookies. Like chocolate chip cookies. Anyways, we're going to be talking about something else, though. There is one dessert that gets me very excited, gets me fired up, and that is the Blizzard. I grew up in a town where we had an Abby's Pizza and a Dairy Queen. So I remember, this is how old I am. I remember when the Blizzard was invented. I remember a life, Brenden, before the Blizzard, where you would go to Dairy Queen and the best thing you could get is a chocolate dip cone, which still is awesome. But I remember a world before the Blizzard. I remember the Blizzard came into our lives, and they were like, remember your favorite candy bar? We're going to blend it up with some ice cream, and you can have it. And it was the best. Now, each and every summer, they introduce new Blizzard flavors, and apparently we have got a new lineup of Blizzard flavors. I'm pumped up. Let's, I'm going to do a little Chuck Norris dodgeball thumbs up, thumbs down on the new Blizzard flavors.
Totally, yeah. Let's go ahead and run through it, Justin. So starting off is the Ultimate Cookie Blizzard. It's got Oreo, Chips
boom.
Ahoy, and Nutter Butter all together. Cookie Lover's Paradise, they call it.
Sounds like too much.
I
Sounds
agree.
like too much.
Well, hot. I agree.
I did not know they had Chips Ahoy Blizzards. That I don't believe I've ever had. And I
haven't
love
either.
Chips Ahoy.
Yeah, that must be new.
Oreos are good. It's a solid Blizzard. Can't go wrong with it.
Butterfinger, I like in Blizzards a little bit more. I like that.
Not a Butterfinger guy.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
Nothing against it,
Yeah.
but just not my personal
Or
preference.
Reese's Pieces.
But
those
the
are good.
I don't know if you're going to get enough cookie in there, but I'd try it. Somebody bought it for me. I wouldn't be mad about it. All right, moving on.
Yeah, let's get to the next one. The first time ever, they say, the brownie batter blizzard treat.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Basically just a bunch of brownies, all brownie pieces, brownie flavors, brownies. Lots of brownies.
I'm for it. This
All
is a great idea. There's a Ben and Jerry's ice cream where it's both cookie dough and I think brownie batter, which I don't know how we got to this point where we're just like uncooked brownies and uncooked cookies are actually maybe a little bit better than the actual ones. Dude, you get when your mom makes brownies and you got that beater, that was the immunity idol.
Oh, yeah.
Right there. So good. I'm in on the brownie batter.
Okay, so we're 2 and 1 or
1 and 1.
1 and 1. Okay.
1 and 1.
So we got 5. So Justin will win or lose. So up next, the peanut butter cookie dough blizzard.
Yeah,
So
I'm in.
This one
I'm in.
is chocolate chip cookie dough, peanut butter topping,
Boom.
peanut brittle crunch.
Ooh,
Yeah.
you just lost me.
Oh.
You just lost me with the peanut brittle.
Okay. Yep. It's sprinkled with peanut brittle, but I'm sure you could get it removed if you didn't want
I
it.
don't know. I don't special order. I don't like the special order. I like to have it the way it is. I'm on the fence on that one. All right, what's next? By the way, they're all awesome.
These are the two that I saved for last because I guarantee Justin is going to
Mm-hmm.
love both of these. Starting with the frosted animal cookie blizzard treat.
Okay,
Self-explanatory, folks.
Free shout out coming to the neighborhood. There is, and I've talked about them often, there is an ice cream place in Woodstock called Cloud City Ice Cream, and I love them. And they have an ice cream there called Circus Friends, and it is essentially the ice cream version of what you just talked about. The circus animal cookies, the pink and white with the sprinkles, that are the best cookies you can buy at the store. I will die on this hill. The best cookies you can buy at the store are the pink and white circus animal cookies with the sprinkles. And at Cloud City Ice Cream in Woodstock, they have the Circus Friends, and it is my favorite summer treat.
Could you
Favorite.
just for the we'll be quick here, but sake of fun, Justin, you want to guess how many calories are in a large?
Nope.
Okay.
Don't want to.
Fair enough.
I don't want to. I couldn't eat a large if I wanted to, but no, I don't want to guess.
And last but not least, the one that inspired this
Mm-hmm.
conversation, the picnic peach cobbler blizzard treat. You've got soft serve, peach topping, buttery cobbler pieces, blended to perfection. Boom.
I mean, I'm in because here's the deal. Peach cobbler is the king of desserts. It's the king. If you were to ask me, hierarchy, rank desserts, peach cobbler is number 1. The only thing I would worry about is in this blizzard, is this a good peach cobbler stuff that they're, or am I just going to get an average peach cobbler? But if you were to, I'm definitely going to try it. But king of all desserts is peach cobbler. Number 1 seed, and it's not particularly close. We've got hour number 3 coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 8 a.m. on a Thursday morning. Justin Myers with you. NBA playoffs last night. The Boston Celtics blow out the Miami Heat 118-84. They close out that series 4-1. They will face the winner of Cleveland and Orlando. Cleveland with a 3-2 edge in that series. The Dallas Mavericks take a 3-2 lead in their series with the Clippers. 123-93 victory last night in Los Angeles. A pair of Game 6s tonight. The Knicks look to close out their series with the 76ers, but Philadelphia has the home court advantage and the momentum trying to force a Game 7. Pacers at home with the 3-2 advantage over Milwaukee. Dame and Giannis both listed as doubtful. Brady Henderson is going to be joining us in 20 minutes to talk some Seattle Seahawks as they now move from the draft and head into mini camps and OTAs. We also have an RCM mailbag. Hour 3 of Rip City Mornings starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Hopefully you are having a fantastic Thursday. One more thing on the blizzard discussion we were having last hour. The blizzard might be the biggest game changer in my lifetime in fast food. Because Dairy Queen before the blizzard was fantastic. Don't get me wrong, like dip cones, dilly bars, strawberry sundaes, chocolate sundaes, peanut buster parfait. But man, when they got the blizzard, everything changed for Dairy Queen. Trying to think what else is like the biggest. Have you ever had like an actual like game changer? Maybe like the Dorito taco, the Doritos Locos taco. That was a game changer.
This is going to be big, but it's something that I think is kind of underrated. Is Justin, before Panda Express, no one knew what it was like to get fast Chinese food, and that happened in my life. Where it was like, I remember when before when you have to go down to sit down at a Chinese restaurant, and now being able to be like, oh my gosh, I can get Chinese to go, and it's instant.
What was the Chinese restaurant in Sherwood?
House of Good Fortune.
House of Good Fortune.
Still there, but like.
Well, of course it is. They're always there.
It's true.
Which is
he's true. It's so true. But yeah, like
shout out to Kowloon's in Roseburg, by the way.
Yeah, I remember like very identifiably, like in 7th grade, Panda Express opened, and we knew what it was like to have Chinese food.
Now
anytime.
imagine though, imagine,
and that was kind of a game changer, Justin.
Imagine like Panda Express, but like they didn't have orange chicken. And then one day they got orange chicken.
Yeah, no, for sure. I
think about that with like Taco Bell. Like there was a time Taco Bell didn't have a double-decker taco.
The game changer.
And then double-decker taco came along, and then the double-decker, and then they would have Crunchwrap Supreme, which was just a big double-decker taco.
Food I'm blanking on, but Justin, we know it's when McDonald's announced the $1 drink. That was a game changer. When it was like, hey, and still to this day, you go to Taco Bell, get a large drink, it's $3.50. You go anywhere, Burger King, anywhere, it's $3+ McDonald's, they knew what they were doing.
Well, this is how old I am too. I lived in a world before free refills on soda at McDonald's or anywhere, and I lived in a world where I remember when Supersize became a thing. It was the best. All right,
Supersize me.
It's the greatest thing. It was like, wait, we can just get more. We got to talk about Dion. We got to talk about Colorado a little bit. I got looped in yesterday morning because there is I don't know if this is just my algorithm or if this is on everybody else's radar. I'm going to give a real tiny little smidge of a quick recap. So The Athletic set out to do a story on Colorado because once again, Colorado is doing Colorado things, right? They said the quiet part out loud a year ago. Deion Sanders came in, gave the famous, I'm bringing my Louis. You guys probably should all think about going somewhere else. And 50-some players left. I think like 80-some players came in and 90% overhaul of the roster. And everybody was like, this is a big swing for Colorado. It's a big swing for Deion Sanders, but you know what? Maybe it just might work. And you know they were out there. Hey, we're coming. Look at all these guys. I'm bringing all this Louis and wah, 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 wah. That's Price is Right music. 4-8, 1-8 in big boy football. 1-8 in big boy football, which is in conference. That, of course, was a 3-point overtime victory against Arizona State. So after a 4-8 season, Colorado is going back to the lab and essentially trying to do the same thing all over again, right? Because you saw it halfway through the season or 3/4 of the way through the season going like, the offensive line's not working, coach. And he's like, yeah, you got to get new linemen. And running guys out again. Said, but this is the difference is you could say, oh, it was a 1-8 team. Yeah. 56, I believe, players of that 1-8 team transferred out last year. 90% overhaul of the roster. That's yours. Those are your guys. You went 1-8 in big boy football. 4-8 overall. 1 win in conference. So, here we are again. Transfer portal opens back up. It feels like a mass exodus at Colorado, but maybe it's just because of the algorithm. But the Athletic catches on, and they're like, all right, let's see what's going. Like, what is going on here? How is there so much with it? I know that we are in a roster turnover era in college football, but it seems to be happening a whole lot at Colorado. And I think a lot of it started with Deion saying, I can't recruit in home. I'm too famous. And the Instagram post from Shiloh Sanders saying, hey, transfer players, DM me and DM my brother. And it's like, this is unorthodox. And the Athletic found a couple of players, and one quote got posted on social media to promote an article that was, I read it. It is like, man, they're doing things very differently at Colorado. And one of those quotes that got promoted, and it wasn't like this kid who was at Colorado and felt like Deion never gave him a shot. It's not like he went out on social media and said, he was answering a reporter's question. And he put his name on it, and by the way, that should be commended. He also went to go play at Austin Peay, and I think played like at an all-conference level. But because this is Coach Prime and this is Colorado, Shiloh Sanders came out and said, I don't even know who this dude was. See my Rolex? See my Lambo? I don't even know who this guy was. Pretty mid, to be honest. And it was
it
was an unnecessary shot.
It's an apropos term, too. Like, mid's very popular right now.
I know.
It's very popular. So, he's hip with the kids these days.
So am I. I know.
I keep you there.
I know it's mid. So a lot of people are like, maybe this is not the way for a starting quarterback who's potentially going to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft next year. Is this really the way you want to be portraying yourself out on social media, especially with NFL coaches? And you might think Deion Sanders at some point, because could you imagine, Brenden, could you imagine what would happen if Dylan Gabriel was trashing Oregon players on their way out the door? I have a hunch Dan Lanning would shut his Twitter account down so fast.
Maybe.
I 100% think Kalen DeBoer would do the same thing. I think that Lincoln Riley would do the same thing. But no, what does Coach Prime do? He doubles down. He starts fighting with trolls on Twitter saying, my kid's going to be top 5 picks. What's your kid doing? He starts throwing out laughing emojis because somebody put up a video of one. So Coach Prime and the kids, full-blown offensive online. Anybody comes after Colorado, we go at you. You leave this program and maybe don't have some nice things to say, we kick you out the door before you can say anything bad. As they said in the movie Dodgeball, it's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off. I don't think it's going to, because I have been around college football enough to know negative recruiting has brought down so many programs. So many programs. You get a whiff of NCAA sanctions, guess what? Every other team in the conference, when they're sitting on living rooms with mom and dad, and it's like, yeah, Tennessee's going to be going on if you saw the news, yeah, they're going to be sanctioned. They're going to be. You won't even play a bowl game there. Any coach has a whiff of being linked to another job. You have to shut that down. Why? Because everybody else who is recruiting all the same players are like, that coach is going to be gone in 2 years. That coach is going to be gone by then. He's already in talks. Here's what I have heard. Why? Because lying when you're sitting there on the couch, it's all fair and love, war, and recruiting. The wave is ultimately going to come, and I don't think this is a good look for Colorado and Coach Prime, because there is going to be recruits out there who are seeing this, and then there's going to be some running backs coach who is also recruiting them for Oklahoma State or for TCU or for Utah or for Arizona State, and that coach is going to get in there and be like, hey, transfers happen. Everybody doesn't fit. I don't know if you saw our coach. Anybody that transfers out, we wish them well. Or you could go to Colorado, where if you do not bow at the feet of the king and the princes, they trash you on social media and they kick you right out the door, regardless of how good you are. That might not be 100% entirely true, but I guarantee you that's what everybody is saying in living rooms and in DMs and on the phone and in Zooms or however else you recruit in 2024. Once the kids are gone, like Deion's done at Colorado, right? He keeps saying like, no, I got more work to do. But once he puts his kid into the NFL, like that's the whole reason he did this, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like I said, forever, if he could coach, he was just biding his time to get back to the SEC. But I don't think he can coach. So, yeah. We'll see, though. I've been proven wrong.
It went from 1-11 to 4-8. That's in terms of rebuilding a program. Sure, that's a good way. Never mind that Northwestern also went from 1-11 to 7 wins last year in the Big Ten. I just think this is such a foolish way to essentially you are giving ammo to every school that is recruiting against you. Every school that is recruiting against you, you are now giving ammunition that you don't have to give. Okay, so somebody said some things about you in an article where, let it go. We're about who's here. We're not about who's not here. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to say. Instead, you're like, that guy was pretty mid, to be honest. And then you go out and be like, my kid's going to be a top 5 pick. Meanwhile, every recruiting coach worth his clipboard is going to be on living room couches all throughout Texas and Arizona and Southern California going like, I mean, yeah, you can go to Colorado. Better get used to kissing the feet of Coach Prime and kissing the feet of the kids. Because if you don't, well, they kick you right in the backside on your way out of town. All right. Coming up, friend of the program, we're going to talk some Seattle Seahawks with Brady Henderson next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, we are now a week away from the first round of the NFL draft, and after the weekend that was, and undrafted free agents, and then OTAs and minicamps and everything else, dust settling a little bit, so it's time to maybe take a look back at the weekend that was for the Seattle Seahawks, and for that, we bring on friend of the program from ESPN.com, Brady Henderson, back on the Big Show. Brady, how we doing, bud?
Justin, my friend, how's it going?
I am doing fantastic. I am always excited to bring you on the show. Always excited to talk to you. And it is, I think it's an exciting time. I think for Seahawk football. This was kind of that first post Pete Carroll draft where we have seen, Brady, for years and years and years, the combination of John Schneider and Pete Carroll and the way that the Seahawks drafted, and now. I got the sense this was kind of John Schneider's draft, not saying that Mike McDonald didn't have a hand in it, but it felt like this was kind of the first John Schneider draft as opposed to the combo with Pete Carroll. Did you get that sense?
Well, I think that, my understanding of just the inner workings of the organization was that, yes, Pete Carroll always had final say, but that rarely impacted things in the draft. And that was maybe something that came into play more so in free agency when it was like, hey, deciding on which guys to pay. I think Pete Carroll, for the most part, let John Schneider do his thing in the draft. And so, yeah, are there different things that maybe the new coaching staff is looking for out of players, like size-wise? Yeah, I think that could be a little different, just, maybe at cornerback. Like, one of those cornerbacks was kind of a Pete Carroll body type build, but the other was not. It was not maybe a guy that they would have drafted under Pete Carroll, at least in the early years. They did sort of relax the, 32-inch arm standard and the length standard in the later years of Carroll. But, yeah, my point is that I think there are some things differently that they look for in prospects, just position by position. But I think this was, it's always been John running the show, and it was, again, John running the show.
All right, so let's dive into round one, defensive tackle, Byron Murphy, I think just the second defensive player taken in the draft because it was so quarterback heavy there in the early picks, so offensive heavy. And I'm not going to ask you to give a grade, Brady, because I spent a good 3 or 4 days on this show talking about how dumb I think draft grades are. You got to see them play football. But when you have then, once you saw the draft pick, kind of saw some of the reports out of Texas, what did you think of Byron Murphy when they picked him up in the first round?
Yeah, I mean, he was the guy who was somewhat connected to them before the draft. I remember somebody's mock draft, I can't remember who it was, had him in there. And, yeah, I think he was widely considered one of the, 2 or 3 best defensive players in this draft. And I think that the easy prediction, and the one that I made, was that, they would go offensive line in that draft, just knowing how many stud offensive tackles there were. And one of them was available to them at 16, Troy Fautanu. So I detailed a lot of this in a story that I wrote that published on ESPN.com this morning. But the other guy, their other top target, was J.C. Latham, who was another one of those college tackles like Fautanu, like Talisi Fuaga down in Oregon State, who would have moved inside to guard, but still would be a long-term option at tackle just because they still had that length to play outside. Fautanu was there. My understanding is they couldn't draft him because of the knee issue, and they also, medical issue aside, they liked Murphy over Fautanu. Now, I think it would have been an interesting decision if J.C. Latham had fallen to them at 16 because, again, he was their other top target. Of course, he was off the board at 7 to Tennessee, and so the decision at 16 was really, do you take Murphy there or do you take one of the 4 trade offers that they had on the table? And ultimately the decision was Murphy. I think, and it sounds like they got some good trade offers, but they were so high on Murphy, considered him the best defensive player in the draft. From a numbers standpoint, wasn't a huge need, but just from an impact standpoint, they did need that type of guy, and they got him at 16. You
mentioned an offensive line, and I will say the kind of the word on John Schneider has always been, he hits at the back end of the draft, and obviously there's so many picks, and Seattle ultimately became Seahawks legends, so you can go back to and look at like just absolute home runs that John Schneider hit at the back end of the draft. Picked up Christian Haynes, a guard in round 3. All right, Brady. 6th-round pick guard. Help me pronounce his name.
Oh, you're talking about Statala Laumea?
Perfect. Nailed it.
Yeah.
And then small college tackle Mike Jarrell picked up in the 6th round as well. So, I mean, if I'm kind of garnering a theme, you mentioned offensive line. That's offensive line, a couple of big defensive players, right? It is defense and offensive line seem to be kind of the trend of the Seahawks in this draft.
Yeah, and we heard John Schneider, a couple weeks ago on his radio show talk about, they were well aware, all the consternation among fans about how big a hole they had in the interior of their offensive line. And he said, they've got some veteran guys that they were bringing in, and they hope to sign one of the veteran guys. And he said they hope to, quote, address that position in the draft as much as they possibly could. So that was kind of the indication that it wasn't just going to be one interior offensive lineman. It was going to be multiple, and they took multiple. And he even said after, I think, the second day of the draft, after they took Christian Haynes at 81, that that's a spot they could continue to look at. So I think it was all about just continuing to stock the pipeline there, knowing that you're probably going to need more than one of those guys, knowing that you're not drafting a guy in the 1st round, so it's not like any of those guys, not like anybody that you draft is, written in ink into the starting lineup. Now, that said, I do think Christian Haynes is going to be their starter. They drafted him in the 3rd round. He was a guy projected widely to maybe even go in the 2nd round. And, there are other options there. It's not like they have anybody, Anthony Bradford started 10 games for them last year, but he was not, I would say he was a below average starter for them. And so I think that Christian Haynes is going to be the starter there. But, you've also got Laken Tomlinson, who's 32 years old and on a 1-year deal. So you needed to restock the pipeline there, and I think they did a good job of that. Now, if there is, John Schneider always talks about upsets in the draft, meaning players that they really like, that they wanted to draft, but they just didn't have a chance to get, and maybe they went before they expected them to go. Now, I think the opposite of that happened. I think Cooper Beebe was the guy that they really liked and actually lasted longer than they anticipated. Mm-hmm. He lasted, I think, to pick number, 73. He was the guy some thought he might go in the 2nd round. We heard from John Schneider after day 2 that they were trying to move up in the 3rd round. I think they were trying to move up for Cooper Beebe. Couldn't get him, and he went, I think, 73rd overall to Dallas. So, Christian Haynes wasn't their first choice. I think J.C. Latham would have been their first choice. He wasn't their second choice because I think that would have been Cooper Beebe. But he's a good player who started a lot of games, 49 starts at right guard, and he is what I would say, a nice consolation prize at that spot.
Brady Henderson covers the Seattle Seahawks for ESPN.com, joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Brady, looking kind of ahead now that the draft has come and gone and they've addressed some need, and now you get into kind of not the offseason, but talent evaluation portion of the NFL season. If you kind of look at the checklist of the Seahawks and things that they need to potentially get done heading into the summer, what is first and foremost on that list?
Well, first and foremost, Justin, is they've got to create some cap space.
Okay.
I think they have to do that just to sign their draft class. Now, my first thought when they drafted Byron Murphy was that, gosh, they've got a lot of guys there, and I wonder if they had so many guys that they may be looking to trade one of their guys who's making a little bit of money just to, create some cap space and also to, clear out what looks like it may be a logjam. So I ran that by a source of mine who said, no, that's not the plan. They do have to create some cap space, but I think the plan is that, Mike McDonald likes having a deep rotation, and he's going to rotate those guys more than they did last year. But the point remains, they got to create some cap space. I think what you're going to see them do is restructure the contracts of John Radigan and maybe even Mike Jackson as well. Those are 2 restricted free agents who they tendered for, I think, both around $3 million. I think they would view it as neither of those guys would get $3 million on the open market. One is a backup, / special teams linebacker. The other, Mike Jackson, might be their 4th cornerback, maybe their 3rd cornerback at best. And I don't think they want to pay him $3 million. So I think there's, good $2, $3, $4 million to be freed up there. And they've got to do something else, whether it's a DK Metcalf, restructure. They could even restructure Geno Smith again. But I think that's the first order of business, is to find a way to create some cap space for this draft class, let alone, the rainy day fund, IR, practice squad, all that.
Brady Henderson joining us here on 620 Rib City Radio. This was an interesting thing that popped into to my Twitter algorithm yesterday, Brady, that I found fascinating. On Seattle Sports 710, we're both fairly familiar with that radio station. Yeah. And on their show that is on from 10 to noon, which used to have really, really entertaining guy. But
I remember that show, yeah.
On the current show, Bump and Stacy, Michael Bumpus threw out the idea, is there a potential possibility of a reunion with Jamal Adams with the Seahawks? I know it was kind of a hypothetical that they were talking about, but like, is there any chance? Because it felt like there was a sigh of relief from a lot of Seahawk fans that the breakup finally happened, right? You spent so much in capital to bring Jamal Adams in. Felt like kind of a Pete Carroll, just it's going to work, it's going to work. It never worked. And then it was kind of like, all right, whew, that's finally done. Is there even the slightest possibility that he comes back?
Yeah, it is possible. I wouldn't say it's likely, but it is possible. Now, when they cut Jamal Adams, they told him, look, this is purely a cap casualty situation, and if it works out, if the market works out, if you're interested in coming back and playing weak side linebacker and maybe even playing some special teams and being more of a role player, then that's something that they would be open to, and that's what they communicated to him. That's my understanding. So, and we even heard from, I think, Mike McDonald at the owners' meetings. In fact, I know we heard from him on this because I asked him, and he said, yeah, it is a consideration that they would bring Jamal Adams back. Now, what I was told recently is that this is only something that they're now planning on discussing internally. I mean, that when they cut him, again, they just kept the door open, but it wasn't something they were, thinking about doing imminently or really considering at that moment. It was, hey, down the road, if, depending on what the roster looks like, maybe after the draft, it's something that they would consider. So now that the draft is over, they are going to sit down internally and talk about that. But again, that would mean Adams playing weak side linebacker, not safety. Mm-hmm. And I think in order to justify that spot, he would probably have to play special teams too. So we'll see. Possible, not likely. I would probably give it like a 10% chance.
Brady Henderson from ESPN.com joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. It was a bit of a stretch, Brady, to think that maybe potentially the Seahawks could be looking quarterback in this draft. I know that there were some workouts and some things, but I would imagine by the time that Bo Nix, the sixth quarterback, was taken off the board in the 12th pick, and then the Seahawks are sitting there, that became really out of the realm of possibility. So obviously, quarterback is what is the most interesting position. It's the most fun thing I love to talk about. Now that this draft has come and went, the Seahawks didn't go quarterback. There really wasn't anybody available. Is this 100% a make it or break year for Geno? Are they all in on Geno? Where are the Seahawks at now that the draft is over at the quarterback position?
Yeah, they're definitely not all in on Geno. In fact, it's kind of interesting how, whether intentional or not, like how clear they make it that they are not all in on Geno, whenever you hear them talk about it. And look, maybe it's just them being honest and not trying to blow smoke up everybody's rear end, just because, look, it's clear, I think, just based on the way he played, just based on the age, that, yeah, he's very much got to prove something. Now, I think I've made this point on your show before, Justin, but it's worth reiterating. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that the first time this offseason where they really publicly committed to Geno Smith was after the Sam Howell trade. Remember, they traded for Sam Howell a couple days into free agency and said, look, Sam's coming in to be the backup. Geno Smith is the starter. That was the first time this offseason that we heard Geno Smith is the starter. He's going to be the guy. Why was that? I think it's because they had considered trading him. In fact, they had maybe even restructured the contract right before the combine to make it more attractive in a trade, knowing that any team trading for him would have to take on less money. And then, the most realistic window for a trade would have been before the start of free agency. And then once that window had passed, or once that, that time frame had passed, then they said, okay, Geno's the starter. But they still needed a backup. And, as I wrote in my story, they correctly anticipated there would be that big of a run on quarterbacks. I think they thought that 6 of them would go before it was their turn to pick at 16, which meant wasn't going to be a whole lot of options left in the second or third round, and that was a factor in them deciding to trade for Sam Howell. And so, Geno it's very much up in the air as to whether Geno is going to be their quarterback next season. I would say the odds are more likely that it's going to be Sam Howell or somebody else. But look, Geno could have a great season. He's strung together. He's been Seattle starter for 2 seasons. He's had, I would say, like almost one full season. If you combine his best football in 22 and his best football in 23, he's had basically one season at like an all-pro level. So that's not to say that he can't be the long-term option, but he's got to put a full season of consistently really good football together to make that happen. And he's also going to be making quite a bit of money next season, and so he's got the potential to make more than that in the final year of his contract, depending on how well he does. And so, but yeah, they are not all in on him, and I know that they are very excited about what they might have in Sam Howell.
Brady Henderson from ESPN.com joining us on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Brady, last thing for you. And we got to get to the important stuff, right? We got to get down to the hard-hitting topics because this is what we do on this very, very serious radio show. Not like we were breaking down Blizzard flavors an hour ago, but hard-hit. Mural's still coming down? They still painting over the past there at VMAC? They're ripping down more posters? I thought it was very strategic that John Schneider and Mike McDonald in their little video to the fans were like, hey, let's stand in front of the Richard Sherman picture to show people that it's still up. They still ripping pictures down from the past?
Yeah, I will paraphrase a joke that somebody on Twitter made, which was that Mike McDonald ordered all of his players to bring their Air Monarchs to a bonfire so that they could burn them in like a ritual. So no, I think that story was very overblown. I think a couple important things to realize there are that that was one wall in particular. Now, if you walk throughout the building, there's pictures of other players. There's an entire wall like around the corner from that one that has a nameplate of every player that's ever played for the Seahawks. And right above that, there's these sort of banner-like images hanging down from the ceiling of every member of their Ring of Honor. And then if you walk on the second floor, right outside where the draft room is, if you keep going down that hallway, there's like pictures of, players. So my point is the entire building is full of nods to their history and even their recent history, like the kind of players who were being taken down from that one wall. I think the message there in taking them down from that one wall was that is like the main thoroughfare of the building. It's right outside the team meeting room. So players, if they walk from the practice facility or the weight room or the locker room into the team meeting room, they're going right by that wall. And, there was also some like Pete Carroll inspired messaging on that wall. So I think the point was, hey, you want to have your own kind of slogans, whatever you want to call them, that are front and center like that. But you also want your current players to have a chance to create their own history. So I think it's been misconstrued as Mike McDonald just scrubbing all of Pete Carroll's fingerprints off the building, and that's just not the case at all.
Like Costanza when he was trying to get fired, right? I could just see Mike McDonald like wearing Steve Largent's jersey, like spilling cherries on it. That's what I pictured is that, John Schneider is wearing, he's wearing like Cortez Kennedy's pants and just, and we're moving on about the past and moving into the future. Obviously that's not what happened. They just changed one wall and everybody in March freaks out because that's why we love the NFL, Brady. And that's why we love having you on the show. You can follow him on Twitter or X at Brady Henderson. You can read his stuff at ESPN.com. Hey, Brady, have a great week. And we'll look forward to talking to you again soon, bud.
All right, my friend. Thank you for having me. Take care.
All right, there you go. Brady Henderson. He's like, oh, Steve Largent jersey. We don't need to worry about that anymore. Just have lunch in it. You remember when Seinfeld, when Costanza tried to get fired? You watched that one?
I never watched Seinfeld.
Oh, that's right.
A little before my time.
Yeah, you got reruns, though. Well, yeah, I might make you rewatch Seinfeld. I don't know if I will, though, because you might not like it, then that's going to hurt my feelings. What's not going to hurt my feelings, RCM Mailbag, next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, let's wrap up the big show. We do that the same way each and every day with the RCM mailbag. Random questions, any subject, any topic. Nothing is off limits. Little bit of house to clean up. Shams, about 40-some minutes ago. NCAA transfer news. Villanova's TJ Bamba is continuing to play for the University of Oregon, per sources. So 6'5" guard, 38% from three. This is his COVID year, I think, because he played 4 seasons at Villanova, transferring out, coming to Oregon. So nice little pickup for Dan Altman, 5th-year senior.
Yeah, it's
guy that can make buckets. That's what you need.
Yeah, who coaches Villanova anymore? Is it even
don't
relevant?
know.
Yeah, see, we don't even know.
Not Jay Wright.
Exactly. So it's like that. That should, like, we all know John Shire coaches Duke now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of sad that Villanova, like, especially with all these Nova dudes for the Knicks, like, just like, I'm like, oh yeah, who coaches Villanova now? Like, what's Villanova been the last couple years since Jay left? Like, not the same.
Welcome to college athletics, right? And, like, lose that legendary coach. Good luck.
Yeah,
all right,
absolutely right.
Let's get to the mailbag.
All right, Justin.
Yeesh.
Firing up the big mailbag today. Where are you on buffets? Where
It's a
do you
good
stand
question.
on buffets?
It's a good question. Because not all buffets are created equal. All right? Breakfast buffet is the number one buffet. I don't even think people look at a breakfast buffet the same way they look at other buffets. Do you know what I mean?
Pizza buffet is tough.
Okay. The regular, like, home-style buffet, which if that is your bag, you do it. You do you, right? And I've been to Vegas, right? I've been to my fair share of just regular old buffets. But I put breakfast buffet number 1, Chinese buffet number 2. I gotta go Chinese buffet number 2.
That's a good pull. That's a really good pull.
Then pizza buffet is a close third.
I wasn't too far off on pizza.
No,
buffets.
pizza.
They are clutch.
What was the pizza buffet you had? We had Izzy's. Did you ever have Izzy's pizza?
We sure did.
Izzy's is pizza plus a whole lot more.
Oh, it was amazing.
That was the buffet where they combined the two because you could get the full
Pizza, spuds,
regular buffet, and they had like
spuds.
chicken nuggets and all that stuff, and then they would throw the pizza out there as well.
Yeah,
But-
I heard that there's like Izzy's itself is defunct and gone under,
Yeah,
Justin.
unfortunately.
But
that was the spot, man.
I've heard that there is a copycat on the coast in Newport. Like it was an Izzy's that was in the location, and
Yeah,
I think like either the owners just like decided to open it up.
they call
under-
it Fizzies or something.
Yeah, it's something like that. My sister was telling me, she's like, everything's the same: the spuds, the ice cream, the pizza, and I'm like,
Oh, I forgot about the ice cream
I
too.
know, right? That as a kid, there was nothing better than when mom and dad said we're going to Izzy's because A, it wasn't cheap, and B, like Justin, like as an adult now, I go, as a kid,
Oh, the
you
cinnamon
weren't
rolls too. They had the cinnamon
It's
rolls.
true. As a kid, you weren't racing for their salad bar either. As an adult, I really like a good salad bar. Oh man,
I
they
think
had a
now
good
that-
salad bar.
Now
They
that
did.
we've talked about it, I am fully on board with buffets.
I
Fully
love it.
on board. I don't know
Yeah.
why I pretended to be all snooty. I am not. I love it. I love a breakfast buffet. I love a pizza buffet. The Izzy's buffet. I think back to the Sizzler. And the Sizzler had a,
Steak seafood sizzler.
well, they called it a salad bar, but at the Sizzler salad bar, they had a nacho bar. They had a tacos bar. They had the ice cream, the soft serve ice cream in the dish. They had everything. They had everything you could want in that salad bar,
So-
which it was essentially a buffet. So the Sizzler buffet, Izzy's buffet.
So let's
In college, it was the Tracktown Pizza buffet.
So talk this through with me,
Yeah.
Justin, because I've seen,
Nobody
like,
had the Mongolian Grill, which is also have you done a Mongolian Grill
yes,
before?
I have.
Yeah,
Very
that's
good.
also that's pretty
that's
much a
fun
buffet.
to have them make it in front of you, and you can choose your spiciness, all that good stuff. But like, so Chinese buffets have hung through.
They're the best.
Now,
They're
my
so
question
good.
with this, Justin, is COVID killed everything. Like hometown buffet, not really a thing anymore. It might have been before COVID, but like all the major like American style buffet, they went out in COVID, right? They went out and I know there's still like some golden corrals around somewhere. Like when I went to Florida, they were everywhere.
Yeah.
But specifically here in the PNW, Justin, we ever get buffets back like we used to, or do you think that time is fleeting in the past?
That's a very good question. I would like to think so. I want to put pro buffet vibes out into the air.
I don't even know if they do.
What is it?
Pizza buffets really? I mean, maybe I'd have to look, but yeah, it's not quite what it used to be.
What was the one? Is it sweet tomato? Or
that was the salad bar buffet.
What was it called?
Sweet tomatoes.
Sweet tomatoes. I was right. That was a buffet.
SOL too.
That's gone.
Yeah, it is, unfortunately. I think there's one left, like back in California. It's like, yeah, but that was awesome. You could get a big old salad, big old soup. Like, I don't know. I mean, Justin, there's nothing more so as an adult that I would be like, as a kid, like I said, I actually genuinely like having a good salad as an adult. And it's like that would
because if you make it right, it doesn't like it has the you think it has the vibes of being healthy, but it's really not. Because when you're done with it, right, there's turkey and there's ham, and then there's some bacon bits, and then there's a lot of dressing, and then there's some cheese, and then there's some sesame seeds,
cucumbers,
and then there's some croutons, maybe a carrot or two.
A carrot or two.
Like a carrot. It's like, let's get some color on there, but it's just a delivery device for bacon bits, dressing, and croutons. Is really what a salad is.
Yeah, actually, like, not to say that I haven't branched out, but I actually haven't put I've never, other than like a grilled chicken Caesar, put meat on a salad before.
Every salad, that's
interesting.
The baseline for me.
Like I've actually never done that. Like, same like
like when you go to like the Abbey's salad bar, they have like the ham and the turkey there, so you can make like a chef's salad. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. I'm not the biggest turkey fan. Ham could be amenable, but yeah, not all in on the turkey, Justin. but yeah,
like most salad bars though, like most legit salad, like they've got a chicken there or.
And again, that's another thing. I found that like salad bars, they're hit and miss, man. I mean,
that's true.
I feel like we lost that, Justin, during COVID, and it needs to come back.
I think we still got it. It just is in a different form, to be perfectly honest. I just think it's in a different form, right? We still go to the free continental breakfast, right, at the hotel. That's a breakfast buffet. It's just
still the best waffle maker known to man.
It's got a different name. Yeah, how do you get one of those waffle makers? Think you can buy those?
I need one.
For your personal use?
They're so cool.
All right, that's going to do it for the big show. Thanks to Brady Henderson. Thanks to super producer Brenden. Thanks to all of you. Have a terrific Thursday. We got a Fancy Coffee Friday coming up tomorrow morning on 620 Rip City Radio.